here today with Bo Burke. I think a lot of us have millions of questions when we've been in a car accident or we know someone who has. We all know, call the police, go to the hospital if you're hurt. What about my car? What about property damage? What is property damage?
So, in car accidents, for the most part, there's two types of damages. There's property damage and there's bodily injury. So that's an injury, damage to a person, essentially. And insurance companies actually keep two separate policies for each of them. So, like, you might have $25,000 in coverage for the property damage. You'll have another $25,000 policy for the injury side. And so they're actually completely separate claims that can be handled completely separately. But property damage, in its essence, is anything that isn't the person that gets hurt. So anything, essentially, that gets hurt is the easiest way to define property damage. Most of the time, it's just the car, right? Like most of the time, the stuff that gets damaged is just the car. But that doesn't have to be it. I had a case where my client was transporting their fish tank. They were moving, and so they had put the fish tank in the back of the car, and they got rear-ended, cracked the fish tank wide open. And so we included that as part of the property damage claim because it is property and it was damaged as a result of the crash. So it can be anything that gets damaged, but generally you're talking about the car.
So if I understand you correctly, property damage is something covered by my auto insurance policy, right?
So it can be, and it depends on kind of how it happens. So if you are in a car accident and you're not at fault for the car accident, the other driver's insurance company should pay for the damage. But if you have what's called comprehensive or collision coverage, or full, a lot of people refer to it as full coverage. If you have full coverage of your car, then your insurance will also pay for the damage. And you can kind of, it's up to you as to which way you want to go about doing it. I've got some opinions on that, but it's up to you as to which insurance company you want to actually use.
So I take it I do have to report this to my auto insurance company. If I've been in an accident, even if I'm not at fault, I have to tell my insurance company?
You are supposed to. When you sign up for car insurance, you're actually just entering into a contract. You agree to pay them a monthly premium, and they agree that if you get into a car accident, there's certain things that they're going to pay. And as part of that contract, you are required to report to them in a reasonably timely manner any accident that you're in, no matter who's at fault or how minor it was.
I think you said you have your opinions about, how to file that claim. What's your opinion on when I should file a claim for property damage with my own auto insurance company?
So, assuming you have the proper coverage, I always recommend my clients to use their own insurance company. And there's one main reason for that. When you file with your own insurance company has to decide two things. They have to decide that you were in fact paying your premiums and you had a policy, and they have to decide that you were in a crash. And once they've determined those two things, they now have to work on fixing your car or totaling it out and getting you the check for it or whatever it is. That's all they have to do. If you go through the other person's insurance, they're entitled to do an entire investigation into who's at fault, how it happened, so they can wait on police reports, they can wait on witness statements, they could drag their feet just because they can. I've had them where they're like, well, we haven't been able to get in touch with the driver that we insure, the one that caused the crash, so we don't actually think that he caused the crash because we don't know what he said. And so they drag their feet and they drag their feet, and all the time that they're dragging their feet, you don't have a car.
So I should file a claim against, with my own insurance company if I've been in an accident, even if the other driver is at fault. My question there is that going to raise my premiums?
So generally speaking, the answer is no. It's not going to raise your premiums. Every insurance company that I know of in the state of Georgia has signed on to this general agreement that whenever an insurance company pays out for their own person, right? So if you file with your insurance and your insurance company pays out for you, they then turn around and go to the at-fault driver's insurance and get paid back. And so essentially what you're doing by going through your own insurance company is you're letting the insurance company have the fight with the other insurance company versus you having to go against the insurance company. And so they still get their money back. It's just they're the ones that have to wait while they drag their feet. Your insurance company is the one that has to deal with all that, and they can afford to do that, whereas you sometimes can't.
Now, we hear these terms, totaled. What does it mean when a car is totaled?
So in some states, there's a very specific definition of totaled. Georgia, to my understanding, does not have a specific definition. But generally speaking, if the cost to repair your car gets to around 70 to 80% of the value of your car, then they're just going to total it out. And so the reason they do that is because if every time a car is in a crash, it is worth less than it was previously. It depreciates in value. And so once you get to it's going to cost this amount of money to repair. So if, let's say you have a $10,000 car and it's going to cost $8,000 to fix it. Once you get to that point, the value of your car is probably going to go down 20 to 30% as well. And so now your car is essentially worth zero. And so it's easier for them to just total it out, and then they can take it. What you're really doing is you're selling it to the insurance company. But you're selling it for the value before it was crashed. And so you sell the car to them, and then they can go and do the salvage value, and they handle all of that, and they just cut you a check for the value of the vehicle.
Now, I don't really trust insurance companies, and I know you don't. Do we just rely on them in these situations to pay out the black book value? Is that something that can be negotiated?
So it can always be negotiated. Generally speaking, while I do not trust insurance companies and believe that they will try to get any points over on you any way they possibly can, most of the time they're going to pay something that is close to the reasonable value. And one of the things you have to keep in mind is cars have three values, right? After you drive it off the lot, there are three values for the car. There's the trade-in value, there's the private sale value, and then there's the retail value, right? So if you wanted to turn in your car and you're just going to trade it in for a new one, that's the lowest amount of money that your car is going to be worth, because the dealer has to take your car and then they want to sell it for more money than they paid for it, so they're going to offer you the least amount, right? So then the next one is a person to person. So if you just decided to sell your car for me, that's usually the second most valuable your car can be, because I don't want to resell it to get a profit. So you can sell it for more than the retail value, but you can't, or you can sell it for more than the trade-in value, but you can't sell it for the retail value, because what you're not giving me are all of the assurances of a dealership, right? So you're not saying I can't come back and sue you for under the limit law rules because you're not a dealership, right? If the car is just a complete dud, I'm out of luck, right? Whereas if it's a dealer and it's a complete dud, I have recourses against the dealer. So you pay a premium for that. So that's the most valuable a car can be. Generally speaking, an insurance company is going to make you an offer somewhere between the trade-in value and the person-to-person value. And in most cars, the difference between that is somewhere between like $500 and $2,000 or $3,000, right? And so that's where they generally make the offer. And the issue you run into is that it is not worth any lawyer's time, effort, or work and the amount of money you're going to pay us to go fight over anywhere between like $250 and $1,500, right? You're going to pay me more money than that $1,500, and so you are where you are. But you can always negotiate with them. I tell my clients always, like, don't take the first offer. There's at least another couple $100 in there, and if you can get a couple $100 for a phone call, there's no reason not to do that, right? So there's always some room to negotiate. And sometimes they do just completely misvalue a vehicle. So what I usually tell my clients to do is just go pull up the Kelley Blue Book or any other rating system and type it all in and figure out what it is. And if it's way off, then you can send that in and be like, why are you offering me this, sort of things. And then there's also, if you get into that situation and they're still playing hardball and whatnot, there are things that you can do where we could potentially help you figure that out. But generally speaking, I would say at least 95% of the time, the insurance companies make you an offer between the trade-in value and the person-to-person sale value. And when you get to that point, it's not really worth the fight. Like, you're going to pay more to have the fight over the difference than you are just accepting close to what they start their offer at.
So what do I do about a car rental?
So I will say, car rentals are one of the places that insurance companies do their best to get one over on people, right? Technically speaking, the person that caused the crash, their insurance company is required to pay for you to have a rental for the amount of time that you cannot operate your car. So while it's in the shop or while you're figuring out how much you're going to get paid out for it, all that stuff. But there's no rule that says they have to pay for it up front. And so what a lot of these insurance companies do is they don't offer to get you a rental. They say, well, go get one and then give us the receipts and we'll pay you back. And a lot of my clients can't afford that, right? And so one of the things I try to tell my clients is one of the things you can do is you can also get rental on your own policy. And if you get rental on your own policy, again, just like going through your own policy to get your car fixed, you can say, hey, give me my rental. And again, all they have to do is like, were you in a crash? And do you have a policy? Both of the things are true. They'll give you a rental and you can use that rental. And then again, that insurance company will then go after the other insurance company to get their money back.
And do I have to pay a deductible if I go to my own insurance company to get a rental car?
Sometimes you can, sometimes you don't have to. It depends on your policy. Usually the way it works out is you pay the deductible at the end. And most of the bigger insurance companies, if you have rental, they have deals with Enterprise or Hertz or something like that. So they're not even paying that much for it. So you don't always have to pay a deductible. Sometimes you do. Again, it depends on your specific policy. And that's something you can talk to an agent about or you can call us about.
And how long can I keep a rental car?
So that again, that depends. If it's under your own policy, there's going to be limits. So usually there's a maximum amount of money that they're going to be willing to pay, and there's a maximum amount of days that you're going to be allowed to keep it. And that again is just between you and your insurance company. So whatever the contract says, that's what you get. On the other side, you are entitled to a rental car until either your car is repaired and back in your possession, or until they have made you an offer to pay for your car. Those are your options. Once they have made that offer, they are no longer required to pay for your rental car. And that is just the rules in Georgia because our rules like insurance companies more than people.
So can I use any body shop to get my car repaired?
You can. It gets more difficult. Generally speaking, most body shops work under the same rules. And most body shops are very used to working with insurance companies. There are some body shops that do refuse to work with certain insurance companies. But if you have a body shop, what I typically recommend is go ahead and take your car to whatever the insurance company recommends and see what they recommend, and then take that to your body shop and see if your body shop can match it or he thinks that they're wrong for any reason. If he's willing to do the work for the same price, then you can have it taken to your body shop, and the insurance company really can't say anything because it's not like they're paying more money, and you get the guy that you trust.
Now, I've heard that body shops can take pictures of property damage for you. If I'm involved in an auto wreck, should I take my own pictures, and what should I document?
You should definitely take your own pictures. Always take your own pictures. A lot of the body shops, because most people don't have body shops that they trust or whatnot, and they do end up at the insurance company's body shop. And keep in mind, the insurance company is paying that body shop, right? And so they're going to document just what they need to make sure they get paid by the insurance company. They're not out for you. They're not doing it for you. So you should always document your own. You also want to document the damage before the car is being taken apart, because one of the things you might want to be able to show if you are injured or anything like that is what the damage looked like before they started the repairs. And so you want to do that. That's actually, if you retain us, one of the things that we do is we do our own inspection of the vehicle. So we'll either have you bring the car to us if it's drivable and you're close by, or we will either go or we will send someone out to go look at your car at whatever tow yard it is in, and we take all the pictures you need. We have drones, we do aerial shots, all kinds of fancy cameras and equipment to make sure we're documenting everything so that we can prove whatever we need to prove, whether it's property damage or injury or anything else down the road.
Bo Burke, it's been a great conversation. If you want this man's expertise, call Morrison & Hughes today. Don't wait. We don't back down.